Hello friends, welcome back to the session. So in this session we will discuss about the internal table. So internal table is a part of ABAP programming structure. It means this will be used during the ABAP programming. So the way we have discussed the variable, similarly we have discussed the work area, and this is your the part of internal table. These all are the part of your data objects. What is the meaning of data objects? It is a memory, temporary memory, which will hold the data during the runtime. So you can work with the work area also based on your usage. You can work similarly. You can work with the work area also based on your usage. Same way, we are going to work with the internal table as well during the ABAP programming. Now, if I go with the definition of internal table, so it is a structure, or I can say it is a group of field. Structure, or we can say group of field. Same way, we have discussed about the work area. Even work area was also a structure, a group of field. Then what is the difference between these two? So the difference between the work area and the internal table is work area will hold single record during the runtime, whereas it will hold multiple record during the runtime. It will hold the multiple record during the runtime. So your work area will hold a single record during the runtime, whereas internal table will hold multiple record during the runtime. So this makes a difference between your work area and the internal table. Now you can ask me, if you are reading the multiple data from the database, then better to go with the internal table only. Why we are going with the work area? See, we required both. How? That we will go with the scenario level. I will show you how the data is getting flow in the three-tier architecture. So during the flow of data in the three-tier architecture, we might need to work with the work area as well. We need to work with the internal table. Again, it is depends upon a scenario. Now, if you want to declare a internal table, then what is the syntax behind this? So I can say syntax, or you can say the example as well. Data. Same, every programming, like if you want to allocate the memory, that memory will be allocated by using the data keyword. And as we know, every programming structure in ABAP should be begin with beginner. Like as we discussed, every client will be having their own coding guidelines. If you are creating any object, then you must follow the coding guidelines set by the client. But sometimes, maybe or may not be, client having their own coding standard, then of course you need to follow, but sometimes they don't have. So in that situation, as we discussed in the work area session, work area we are going to create with the name W and A, W or WA. Similarly, if you don't have any coding guidelines as per the client, then you must create the internal table with the name IT. It stands for internal table. So I can say IT, followed by any name. Like you might need to create the multiple internal table or multiple work area within the same program. If you do have multiple work area and the multiple internal table, how we are going to differentiate those? With some different name, right? But we always used to provide some meaningful name. Like suppose whatever the database table you're working for, so similar to your database table name, we are going to propose it to the internal table. Like suppose I am going to work with one of the database table called ZS01 underscore customer or Z customer, like we have seen in the work area session. So I'm going to work with that database table. So I'm taking some similar name from that database table to this internal table. Now in this internal table, what are the fields you're expecting? So as we discussed, internal table is a structure or a group of field. So if there is a single field, then it's a part of variable. Now making a collection of that variable and we are going to form a group. That group we can call as a structure. So always the work area and the internal table contains a more than one field. That's the reason we are going to call it as a structure or a grouping of field. Suppose in this structure or a internal table, I'm going to consider the multiple field like customer ID in bracket 10, type C. Similarly, I'm considering name in bracket 20, type C. And the third one is city in bracket 20, type C. And this is going to be end. So as we discussed, every programming structure should be begin of, end with, end of. Now you can ask me, it is saying, so syntax is similar to the work area which we declared, right? If you just observe the syntax which I have written with compared to your work area, it is the same, then why you are going to name it as an internal table? No. So there is some additional keyword which I need to write called occurs 0. So we are going to create the internal table IT underscore CUSD followed by occurs 0, then the so on field like we declared during the work area, and this is going to be end. Now, before I explain this the syntax, so whenever we create the internal table, so internal table is classified into two parts. Here I can say internal table is classified into two parts. So whenever we create the internal table with the occur 0, especially with this occur 0 concept, then two things will be created in the background into two parts. Two separate memory, I can say. Two separate memory will be created in the background. So those are the header line and the second one is internal table body. So whenever we create a internal table with the syntax occurs 0, the two things will be created, or two different memory or two different data objects will get created in the background. One with header line, another with internal table body. Now you can ask me what is the meaning of header line. So technically, header line and work area both are same. Header line or work area, which we discussed in the previous session, both are same. Then if both are same, the property wise I'm talking about, if both are same, the property wise, then why we are going to name it two different naming convention like header line and the work area? The difference is, of course, we are going to create by using the syntax, the data, begin of, work area, then set of fields, end of. If you are creating the work area with explicitly using some syntax, then we are going to name it as a work area. But in this situation, now I'm going to work with the internal table, but here I have not written any extra syntaxes to create the work area, but still system is creating the work area for you automatically. I have not written any extra syntaxes to create the work area, but still system is creating the work area for you. So that's the reason we are going to address it as a header line. When you are going to create the work area by your own by writing some syntaxes, then we are going to address it as a work area. When system is going to be create the work area automatically for you, even though you are not proposing, you are not writing any extra syntaxes, but still system is creating the work area for you along with the internal table. So in that situation, the work area which is creating by the system automatically, then we are going to address it as a header line. So this is only the difference to address with the different name. But rest of the property is same. What is the job of work area? Which hold single record during the runtime. Which hold the single record during the runtime. Now you can ask me, if it is creating the work area, then what are the fields it's considering? Right? So work area is what? Group of field, or it is a structure which holds single record during the runtime. So that's fine, it's holding the single record. But what are the column he's considering during the creation of header line? Okay, so I will show you in the syntax level. And the internal table body is nothing but it hold multiple record. So if you look at the syntax between the work area and the internal table, already the work area we have discussed. So this is your internal table. Now if you differentiate these two syntax, the difference is only you can see with this occur 0. There during the work area, you don't find this occur 0 concept over there. but here you are finding that extra keyword called occur 0. And with this occur 0 only, your header line and the body will be created. And both will be created with the same name. Both header line and body will be created with the same name. So, as per the syntax, with this begin of, header line will be created, and with this occurs, body will be created. Internal table body. Body is nothing but internal table. So as I told you that whenever we create the internal table with the syntax called occur 0, system will create the two things in the background. One with the header line, nothing but the work area, and second with the internal table body. But actually in this example, we are working with the internal table, but still the system is proposing the work area for you. Even though you don't need and even though you have not written the extra syntaxes, still system is proposing the work area for you. And when in the case if system is creating the work area automatically for you, then we are going to address it as a header line. But now you can ask me, if you are creating the internal table with the IT underscore CUST, that is fine. The internal table is getting created with IT underscore CUST. But system is proposing the header line or work area for you. In that situation, in what name the system is creating the header line and the or work area, I can say. So both will get created with the same name. Header line and the body will be created with the same name called IT underscore CUST. Now you can ask me in the system level how we are going to differentiate which IT underscore CUST is your header line, which IT underscore CUST is body. How to differentiate? That I will show you the screen level. Not an issue. But if you refer to this syntax with the begin of, as we know, see if you observe this syntax, the work area syntax is same. So till from here to here, this is something related to your work area syntax only. Only extra thing is occurs. However, with this syntax, your work area is creating. In this work area, you do have the same set of fields like customer, name, and the city. With the same three fields, it also creating the body. And with the same name, IT underscore CUST. Both will be get created with the same name. Header line will also create it with the same name. Even body will also create with the same name. Now, when it is creating the body, nothing but the internal table body which can hold the multiple record. But how many number of row we needed? Who is going to decide? Are you going to like body means multiple row. Multiple means more than one row. Now, do you need 2 row, 3 row, 5 row, 10 row? How many row you needed? So that is going to be decided by using this size category. So this is your size category. It is something like n. It can be any number. It can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2, 3, any number like 100, 500, 5000. It can be anything. Now, what is the meaning behind this? If I 0, what will provide? Does it mean the internal table body is going to be created with 0 row? No. So the formula is always it will create with plus 1 row. It means your body will get created with the default 1 row. Now suppose if I provide the occurs 10, it means system will create the internal table body with 11 row. Always it will add the plus 1. If I say 100, system will create a internal table body with 101 row. Now what is the meaning behind this? Now what is, suppose I am receiving the 10 record from the database and you have created the internal table body with 0, occur 0. Means internal table body has been created with plus 1 row, nothing but by default that internal table body contains only 1 row. But from the database I'm getting the 10 record. Does it mean remaining 9 record will not get stored in the internal table? Not like that. Automatically the memory will get extended. You have nothing to do. So the meaning behind providing the size category is by default, the memory should get allocated with minimal value. But if you are receiving the extra amount of record from the database, in that situation, that body will automatically get extended. There is no any issue. But suppose you're feeling that I do have the 10 record from the database. I do have 10 record in the database. Does it mean like you are going to create 9 plus 1? So it can give any size category. It can be 9 also. Do you think like I do have 10 record in the database, so I need 10 rows. So you are going to provide occurs as 9. It means it will create plus 1 row, nothing but internal table body contains by default 10 row. But while receiving the data from the database, you have received only 5 record. Because, suppose in that situation, someone has deleted some 5 record from your table, database table, and you have received only 5 entry. It means the internal table body which you have created with the assumption of 10 row, it has filled with only 5 rows. Remaining 5 rows are empty. So that is not a good sign because we never, like unnecessarily, we never reserve the memory. It will may impact on the performance because unnecessarily reserving the memory, the load on the database is being increases. In that situation, it will be impact on the performance. So always, whenever you are creating the internal table body, create with minimal rows. If you're receiving the extra number of record, then not an issue. System will automatically expand the memory. But unnecessary you are creating the internal table body with the multiple number of rows and you don't have that amount of data, then you are unnecessarily reserving the rows. So that should not be the situation. That's the reason whenever we create the internal table, that internal table body contain with the minimal rows. That's the reason we always provide the occur zero. Suppose if I go with the occur zero, it means internal table body will be created with 1 row. And if you executed any select statement to extract the data from the database, you have received the 0 entry. In that situation, you have allocated the 1 row for the internal table. Even that 1 row also make an impact. So in real time, we will create the internal table, but not with the occur zero. Then why we are discussing? It is a very basic concept which has been launched in 1972 when SAP come up with its own programming. You should know this concept. That's the reason we are discussing with this occur zero. Yes, we will create the internal table, but not with the occur zero. We do have the different way because unnecessary it will reserve the memory, right? But still we are discussing the reason behind this. Suppose if you're working, like if you get hired, if you're working for any project or if you get onboarded with any project, that might be the chances like you may get allocated with the support project. In that situation, you might come across with a program which has been designed 10 years back, 15 years back. In that situation, you might come across with this internal table with the occur zero. Like 10, 15 years back, the program which has been designed, those are based on this occur zero only. Recently, they have lapsed it because it's making an impact on the performance, right? So now, if I want to see with the help of this internal table, how the data is getting flow in the 3-tier architecture. So here I can say flow of data in R3. So as we know, we do have presentation server, we do have application server, and we do have database server. And the syntax which you have written above, like begin of ITCUST occur zero, the field name end of. As I told you that with this syntax, two memory will be created, one with the header line, another with the body. And both will be created with the same name. So this is something your header line. So this is your presentation server. Okay, so this is the presentation. This is your application server, and this is your database server, right? Now, the syntax which we have created, the syntax which we declared above. So with this syntax, it will create the work area or the header line, I can say. The header line and the work area both are same. Both will be used to hold a single record during the runtime. And it will create the internal table, sorry, header line in the name of IT underscore CST with the same name. Both header line and the body will be created with the same name. Now in that, what are the fields you're expecting? I need customer ID, name, and the city. So these are the three fields which I want to extract the data from the database. And this is your body. This is your internal table body, I can say. Internal table body. And even though this internal table body will be created with the name IT underscore CUST. Now both is getting created with the same name, then how we are going to differentiate? I will show you during the runtime with the concept debugging. So the debugging is a most important part of programmer life. Now, what is the meaning of debugging? How to use this? That will have the different session for this. Now, let's assume we do have the database table, one of the database table called ZS01 underscore customer. This is one of the database table which is available in your database. And this database table contains many fields. It is having customer ID, it is having name, city, so on. It is having the multiple fields. But I don't want to work with all the fields. I want to work with only limited fields like customer, name, and the city. So let's assume in this table you do have around 100 fields, maybe more than that also. But I don't want to work with all the fields. I want to work with only these three fields. So in the database, you do have the data like so on, right? Now these three data, I want to bring it to the presentation. So as we know already directly, we cannot read or write the operation. Like we don't have the direct connection between the presentation and the application. In the middle, we do have the application. Why SAP has provided that middle as application server? Then we do have the detailed topic in the future called internal architecture of application server. What is the reason behind SAP has introduced with the application server? Now what we are reading, like what we are doing in the last session, we do have only component called or the data object called work area. So we are reading the data from database to the work area, and from there we are transferring it to the presentation. But this time we are working with the internal table. Through internal table, we are working with our data processing. So whenever we create the internal table with the concept called occur0, system will create the two different memory for you. One with header line, another with the body. And both will be get created with the same name. But this time, whatever the data we are reading from the database, we are not reading the data from database directly to your header line or the work area. No. So instead of we are reading the data from database to body. We are reading the data from database to your body, internal table body, which contains a multiple row. So how to read the data? So we do have the syntax for this. So that is a part of your select. Select what we have fetching, customer ID, then name, and then city. From where? The table called ZS01 underscore customer. Into where you are fetching? Into, see, if you want to read a single row every time, like if you just recall the work area session which we discussed in the previous session, so during the work area what it has happening, it was, so every time it is going to the database, picking the single record, transferring it. So every time we are going to the database, picking a single record each time with the first in first out case and transferring it to the presentation. But this time in one go, we are fetching all the data from database. But where do you want to fetch that data? Into your body or header line? Of course, in the body means at the same time you are reading all the data. So instead of saying that into, we need to say that into table. And your internal table body is IT underscore CUST. It means if you say just into from your database table name into your data objects, that is work area. It means it is reading the single record from database to your work area. But instead of just into, if you say that into table, then it is reading all the data from database into your body. Suppose instead of writing into table, if I would have written into, means it would have written the read the data from database into header line. But we are not reading the data into header line. See, if you say just into IT underscore CUST, it would have transferred the data to header line. Just saying the into, it means you're pointing towards the header line or the work area. But no, we are reading the data into internal table body. So in that situation, we need to say that into table. All right. Now we have received all the data. So I'm saying full stop. Okay. Every statement must be concluded with either separated by comma, ends with full stop. So in one go, he's reading all the data like 1000, 1001, 1002, 1000. If you do have some further record, let's assume I do have the further record. Okay, 1003. Something like the name, right? Now, in one go, in one single attempt, we have read all the data from database to application server. But in the application server, we do have two different memory, one with the header line and the body. Instead of fetching the data into the work area or header line, we have extracted the data into body because main focus is toward the internal table body we are working on. Header line, again it was same, the way which we discussed in the work area concept. Header line, work area both are same. Each time it will hold the single record. Of course, you do have 4 records, then each individual time it will go to the database and each time it will pick a single record for you. But here we are improving ourselves. Instead of going with the multiple way to the database, in one single attempt, we have read all the data from database to internal table body. Now, where is your data? Internal table body. Now, it means from internal table body, we might need to transfer the data into header, sorry, presentation, but it is not the way. It is not possible to transfer your data from internal table body to presentation. No. Work area, then what is the solution? Work area or internal table is only the way to transfer the data from database to, sorry, application to presentation. It is not possible to transfer the data from body to presentation. No. Only the way is you can transfer the data from work area to presentation. This is only the way. but you don't have the data in the header line. Instead, you have read the data into the body. Does it mean we will recorrect the select statement so that directly we can read the data from database table to the header line? Again, it is one and the same, which you have discussed in the work area. Then what is the alternative solution for this? So whatever the data we have extracted into internal table body, we need to transfer it one by one into the header line. The data which you do have currently in your internal table body, that data we need to pass one by one into the header line. And from there, we need to transfer it to the presentation. Like once your data is in work area or the header line, from there, if you want to pass it to the presentation, then we already know the solution, how to do it by using the right keyword. But the question is how to bring the data from internal table body to work area or header line. How to do? So SAP has provided the solution for that. We can say read the data from internal table body into, it may be header line or work area. Reading the data from internal table body into work area or header line. So SAP has provided two different way. One with loop and loop, one with loop and loop. So with this, and the second one is read table. So there are the two different solutions for you. One with loop and loop and another with read table. Now where is your data currently? It's in the internal table body, and as we know from the internal table body it is not possible to bring the data into the presentation. Only the work area or header line is only the solution to bring the data from application to presentation. Now what is the question? In that situation, then how to bring the data from body to header line? So for this, SAP has provided the two different solutions. You can go with the loop and loop also to bring the data from internal table body to header line, or you can go with the read table. Now the question is when I should go with the loop and loop or the read table. So before that, I do have simple question for you. Now how many records are there in the internal table body? Maybe more than one. Now the question is, do you want to read all record one by one from internal table body to header line, from there to presentation? Of course, I want to bring all 1000, 1001, 2, 3, one by one from internal table to work area or header line and from there to presentation. In that situation, you need to work with the loop and loop. So what it will do, he will read record by record the data from internal table body to work area, and from there you can move it to the presentation. Again, the alternative. Now among these record, of course you do have more than one entry. Now in this situation I do have 4 entry. Now among these, do you want to read only one, any one of these? Of course I want to read any one of these. It can be 1001 or maybe 1002 or 3 or simply 1000 also. Among these 4, I want to read only one of them. In that situation, you need to go with the read table. So loop and loop will be used to bring the record by record, the data from internal table body to header line. He will read all one by one, but read table among those only one. So that is the difference. Now it's up to you, which based on your requirement, you can use one of them. It will be used read the data from internal table into work area or header line. So I can say it will record, it will read all the data one by one, or I can say record by record. He will read all the data one by one or record by record. Similarly, read table, it will read a single data. Single data or only one record. From internal table into work area or header line. If you want to move one by one all record from your internal table body to header line and from there to presentation, then loop and loop. No. So my requirement is among them, there is only one position. So among them, any one of. Then in that situation, go with the read table. Now here my requirement is I need to bring all the data. So in that situation, you need to work with loop and loop. Loop at your internal table body. What is the internal table body? IT underscore CUST into your header line or the work area. So here we don't have the work area. Instead, system has created the header line itself. The name of the header line is again same. So don't confuse. So this is your internal table body and this is your header line. So whenever we say the loop, whenever we use a loop, so loop always bring the data from internal table to header line only or internal table to work area only. So this is the flow of data. Loop always bring the data from internal table to header line or the work area. So first ITCUST is your body. Alternatively, the second ITCUST is your header line. So your with this line loop at IT underscore CUST means the data from your body, it will go to header line. Again, one by one. That is a part of FIFO. The very first record comes to your header line 1001, the name, the city. Now already your data is in header line. Now if you want to bring this data to the presentation server, then what is the solution for this? You know how to print the statement. And what is the width of your output list? It is 0 to 255 character. And all the statement in SAP, it will start displaying by one places. It will start displaying from left by one places. So in the first position, we are trying to display the 1000. And we are giving some space. I wanted to print the second record at the 20th position. And similarly, the third record at the 40th position. How to do? The right keyword. So using right keyword, we are going to print the statement. So from the header line. So header line name is IT underscore CUST and your first field is customer underscore ID, comma. At the 20th position, the header line name hyphen the second field name, comma. The third column position, the header line name. From that header line, the third field we are printing, city. Done. We don't have any further column. So similarly, loop is going to be end with end loop. Okay. So it has started from here. It has reached to end loop. It means the first record which we read it from the internal table body to header line, that we have transferred it to the presentation. Now what about second record? It means again you need to go over here. It means again you need to come to the body to read the next record. It means the loop again pass through. Something like this. It means again cursor will go to the internal table body. Now this time it will pick the second record. Now what is the second record? 1001, something like name, and the city. So again that data. See, once we say the loop, the data from body, the next record will move to the header line, and from header line based on the position. And each new record, each new customer ID should go to the new line. So this is the next line or the new line. In the first position, customer ID will be printed from the header line. In the second position, that is at the 20th position, the name should be printed from the header line. In the 40th position, the city should be printed from the header line, and that is going to be concluded with the end loop. Now, your cursor is in the second row, 1001, the name, the city. In the meantime, the data which is coming across to your header line or the work area, that data will be get copied to your a virtual page that has been created by the system automatically. Second record, right? Now again, we have ended with the end loop. Again, it will go to the loop to bring the next record from body to header line. Now again, it has come to your body. See, this third time it is moving, right? Third time is moving and it is transferring the data to your header line. So your third record is something 1003, 1003, sorry, 1002. This is somewhat the name and the city. Now that data is getting printed in the presentation server. Now for the third time. So again, the data which is coming across to your work area or the header line, that will be get copied to your virtual page. Now the third time, see, it has started from loop, it has ended with end loop. Now okay, it is starting through with the next loop pass. I can say next loop pass, one by one. So again, this is for the fourth time. He's picking the next entry, that is something like 1003, the name and the city. 1003, name and the city. And the same data is getting printed to, right? And the data which is coming across to your header line or the work area, that is getting copied to your virtual page. So this is your virtual page. Virtual page. And the lifespan of this virtual page is 48 to 72 hours. It means whatever the data is coming across to your work area or the header line, that data will be get saved in a separate memory. That memory is going to be created by the system automatically. Now, what is the purpose behind this one? Like suppose you have run this report, you have received the output, and you have shut down the system, right? You have closed the screen. Now again, after few time or after few hours in a same day, you are running the same report. It doesn't mean that it will again go to the database. If your virtual memory is enabled, in that he will dig into that, he will look into that virtual memory, like the requested data is exist in the virtual memory or what, or virtual page or not. If the requested data exists in the virtual page, it will response back to the presentation server from here itself. He will never go to the database again. It means till 72 hours. So that timing is going to be decided by the basis. It is not a fixed timing. That is totally depends upon the basis. They are going to set up they are going to configure it. Now, after suppose in the next 72 hours, you have not executed this report. It means at the 73rd hour, of course, after 72 hours, it's going to be rolled out. It will be deleted automatically. In case if you run the same report in the 73rd hour, then automatically this virtual page is going to be reinstalled, and whatever the data is coming across to your header line or the work area, that will be get copied to your future reference. So you don't have the direct control on this. I want to remain this activated. I want to remain this virtual page to be activated. Then the control is not in the ABAP's hand. That is going to be need to take care by the basis consultant. Now let's see this example at the screen level. So already we do have one of the table called ZS01 underscore customer. Now, how this table comes to picture, who has created this one? Now, suppose if I want to create how to create this table, that is a part of your data dictionary. We do have the separate session in detail. So if you want to see the table entry from the ZS0 underscore customer, you need to select the option table content and just click on execute. So these are the data. Now these are the data from your database table. Now I want to create a separate program and I want to bring the data from database to the presentation. So I'm going with the application called ABAP Editor, and for the application ABAP Editor, what is the transaction code? SE38. Enter. So I'm creating a program, anything starting with Z or Y. Of course, if you are creating a program with except Z or Y, it will ask you for the access key. Of course, you don't have the access key with you. It is nothing but the permission. Of course, unnecessary, never give it the permission until unless you do have the valid reason for that. In that situation, what to do? You need to follow the naming guidelines. So every object must be start with Z or Y, followed by you can provide anything. So I'm providing something like customer report. So sometimes there might be a chances like with the same name already the object is exist. See, Z customer underscore report. This is the same report which we created in during the work area. Now if I click on create option, you'll get the message at the bottom. Z customer underscore report already exists. He's asking you to select the some different name. So I'm providing some different name ending with some 01. Provide anything, it's up to you. Go with the create, but always prefer the meaningful name. Okay, so of course the program which I'm developing, which is related to the customer, so I'm providing the name as customer underscore report. Click on create. So whenever we click on create option, you will get this window, and this window we can call as a attribute. Attribute is nothing but what? Settings, property. So the program which you are creating, for that program you are maintaining the properties. Setting you are maintaining, that is a part of attribute. So two major things we need to maintain, one with the title and another with the type of program. So with this type of program only, it will get decided either your program should run independently or not. As we discussed, the type of program should be executable. So this executable will be considered as main program, and the remaining are the part of subprogram. Of course, in the future, we are going to discuss all the programs one by one. So by selecting this executable program, system will create a .exe file in the background with the name of Z customer underscore report underscore 01. This is your program name ending with the .exe. Do you know, like the software which you're installing in your laptop or the mobile, these are the part of setup file, and this setup file will be generated with the type of program as executable. Now suppose if you are selected with any other type of program, however you can write the source code, but you will not get the output. Whenever we click on execute or F8, you will not receive the output. If you want to get the result or output of the program which you are developing, then the program type must be executable. And the title is something like the program which you are creating. After executing, you're supposed to get the output. In that output, what heading you're expecting, that is comes from the title, and it's a mandatory. You must pass something. So I'm providing something like meaningful report customer list, right? Should be saved. Now, after providing all the needful information like this original language, it will take automatically, like whatever the logon language you have used, created by the date, then last change, like no one has changed this program, it is in the creation stage. Suppose after developing by yourself, if you are changing the same program by yourself, then it will comes as a last change on. Then sometimes you need to provide the status, application, authorization, logical database, so on, right? For this is a time being, it's a simple program which we are creating. This information is enough. Now, after providing some valid information, we are going to click on save option. So while saving, he will give the two options. Do you want to save the object in package or you want to save it in a local object? When we need to go with the package, only when after development, if you want to transport your object from development to quality, quality to production, then you must save the object in a package, which becomes your object as a transportable. No, of course, I'm creating this program for the practice purpose or the dummy, then must save in the object in a local object. But later point of time, suppose like knowingly, unknowingly, you have saved your object in a local object. Now you have decided Once after development, I want to transport it. Is it possible to change the source? Of course, anytime you can change it from local object to package or package to local object. Anytime you can change these things. It doesn't mean that only during the creation you do have the options to select either package or local object. Not like that. At any point of time, you can change the path of your object from local to package or package to local anytime. So where I can see, just go to and select object directory entry. Not only program, any object which you are developing in SAP. You can change the path at any time from local object to package, package to local object. Every screen contains this option. Select go to, select object directory entry. If I click on this, again you will get the same pop-up which we used to guess during the save. The package option and the local object. So in the interview, sometimes they will ask you, like whenever we develop the object, sometimes we can save in a local object also. For that local object also, there is a package name. Of course, every package, if it is a custom package, then that must be with the Z or Y. SAP has provided many standard packages also, and that contains some standard object. But for your custom development, you need to create the custom package. And that, of course, custom means it must be started with Z or Y. Same way, for the local object also, there is a package name. And that package name is $TMP. Keep in mind. The local object package name is $temp, TMP. Okay, so you can click on change option. You can pass the new package if you want to store the object in a package, and then later you can click on save option. But however, currently we are saving in a local object. Now, as I told you that whenever you're working with the program, the four important steps. First, you need to work with the table declaration, like what are the tables you're working for. Then you need to declare your data objects, maybe the structure, work area, internal table variables. Then you need to provide the extraction logic, the data which you're extracting from the database. And then we need to provide the processing logic. And here coding color is very beautiful. It is in the combination of six colors. Six colors. Blue, black, that is a common combination which you are finding. The third comes with the gray, that is meant commented. If something, the statement which you are finding in the gray, that is something like a commented line, we can say. It means, see, whatever the statement you are writing, that is will get compiled by the compiler. Sometimes, some statement which I am writing, that is something related to the information. But I don't want that statement should get compiled by the compiler. In that situation, it need to be hidden from the compiler. So that will becomes a commented. Now how that statement is going to be commented? By writing the star at the first position. Okay. So everywhere, can you see just under that, this 800, can you see at the 800 at the bottom? 800. See system, everything. Just above you do have one line. Just above. ABAP line 1 COL25. It means your cursor, it will let you know the cursor position. Now currently where is my cursor? Line number easily I can see. It's in the first line. But what is a column position? Your column position is 25. So by providing the star at the first column position, that particular line will be considered as a commented. Right? So line will be commented in the two different way. By writing the star at the first position, now you can ask me, somewhere in the middle I want to comment the line. Then you can provide the two inverted column. After providing the two inverted column, and later if you write any source code, that will be considered as a commented line. If you want to comment the line from the start point, then provide the star at the first position. If you want to comment the line somewhere in the middle, then provide this two inverted column. From there, it will become a commented. So there are the two different ways. So as I told you that in the first position, we need to provide the star and we need to provide the tables declaration. So what are the tables you are working for? I'm working with the table called ZS01 underscore customer. Now in this table, we do have many fields, but I don't want to work with all the fields. I do have the separate set of fields which I want to work for, and I want to create my own data objects. So provide the declaration for what? Data objects. So, and the data objects I'm creating internal table. Sometimes whatever the source code we're supposed to write, between that source code, we need to provide some comments. Comments is for what? Suppose you are the original developer and you have written the source code. Maybe in the future that source code contains comes with some new additional changes, or that source code comes with some issues. In that situation, maybe may not be you are there in that project, or you have released, or you have joined some other organization. Now who can see that the code which they have received with the new issues? Now you are the original developer and you have already left the organization. Now who is going to check that? The developer who is replaced you. Now how he will or she will get to know that what source code you have written? By reading, of course, she or he also an abapper. By reading the code, he also or she also may get the things. But instead of that, if you write some statement also within that in between, like they may be very clear without reading the code, without debugging also, they can easily analyze, oh, you have written this statement, with this you are going to achieve this logic. So see, by writing this comment, what comes to the mind? Oh, you have declared some internal table. That is how. But by looking at the statement also, you can easily recognize like this is a declaration. But sometimes if you written any complex logic and that what logic is doing, after debugging, you will get to know. By analyzing the code also, you will get to know that. But if you return some command, that is easy. Again, he will the time will be saved for that new abapper, right? Now data begin of IT underscore anything CUST occurs 0. This is a number 0, 1, 2, 3, 10, 100, 200. It can be anything. Okay. Then fields which I needed customer underscore ID in bracket 10 type C name in bracket 20 type C then city in bracket 10 sorry type C, and this is going to be end of IT underscore CUST. Again, I'm repeating, in real time, we will create an internal table, but not with the occur zero concept. It is totally outdated. But still we are discussing because this is the original concept of internal table. Maybe if you're working with any organization, if you're working on a support project, in that situation, you might come across with the program which has been designed 10 years back or 15 years back. In that code, you might come across with this occurs concept. Only the sake of, if you know the concept, that's the reason we are discussing, but we will create the internal table, not with the occurs. Unnecessary, it will impact on the performance. Why? That we will see this after the example. Now we are going to provide the extraction. Provide extraction logic. So I'm saying select customer ID, name, city from your table into where? Body IT underscore CUST. Now from there, provide processing logic. So your data is in internal table. So directly from internal table, it is not possible to bring the data to the presentation. So through work area or header line is only the way to bring the data from application to presentation. But the thing is that your data is in the body. Now how to bring the data to the header line or the work area? Either by using loop or read table. So I'm going with the loop at IT underscore CUST into. So bringing the data from body to header line. So here body and both header line are with the same name. So you are moving the data from body to header line, and from there we are bringing into the presentation. Customer ID, somewhat 25, the header line name, and in that header line you do have 3 columns. You are addressing to individual column. So second column is name, and at the 50th position, the third column is city, and the loop is going to be concluded with end loop. Now, every program must be active before we execute. So this is currently in inactive state. So before that, 3 steps. One, you need to save the object. Then you need to check the syntax error in your program. Does your program syntactically free, error free? That we are going to check by using syntax check. The shortcut is Control plus S. If everything is okay, then you can activate it. Once it is activated, the status will be changed to the active. it is active, then you can execute the program by using F8. So first I'm going to save it. At the bottom you can get the message program so and so has been saved. So then you can check with the syntax. So you can see the message at the bottom, your program is syntactically free. Now suppose somewhere I missed the full stop. Now check the syntax. See, the loop is invalid here due to grammar contains invalid character something. Okay, so it doesn't mean that every time the error will be in the same line. Sometimes you have missed something in the previous line, the error comes to the new line. So actually you have missed something over here, but error is showing at this line. But after analyzing, you will get to know that, oh, this statement is correct. Then what was the issue? Maybe just you can go with the previous statement. Does your previous statement is correct or not? But here, actually, this into table, the keyword which has been introduced by the SAP, those always be in the blue color. And the keyword which we are going to explicitly write, those will be in the black color. So with this blue and the black, you will get to know that blue is a standard keyword given by the SAP, black, which we are going to write by our own as a custom. So all these are the custom, right? So actually this should be into in the blue color, but we are not getting in the blue color. See, this is one thing. Now here I want to add one more point for you. So now it is okay. I'm going to click on activate. So your program is activated. See, this table keyword. What is the start point of this table keyword? Position I'm asking you. Line position is 4, but what is the column position? First place. If you look at the line position and the column position is first place. Even though this data keyword, it is in the 7th line, but column position is 1 only. In the same way, the select statement which you have written, the select statement which you have written, that is expected to start somewhere at the first position, but it is started somewhere in the middle at the position number, you can see at the bottom, 6th position. It is expected to start at the first position, but it has started at the 6th position. It doesn't mean, can I do the backspace and take it to the first position? Similarly, if you look at this loop, it has expected to start at the first position. It has unexpectedly started at the 8th position. Does it mean if I do the backspace and take it to the first position? No. SAP has provided one concept called pretty printer. SAP has provided some concept called pretty printer. It is giving some final touch to any, like something like if you're doing the painting, you're going to the final touch, something like it is something like fine. It is not a mandatory one. It is something like a for good looking. Okay. So if I click on pretty printer, all the source code will get aligned as per the SAP format. So the select statement has expected to start at the first position, unexpectedly it started with some other position. But that is not as per the SAP standard format. It doesn't mean that your program will not run. Of course your program is activate. If I click on execute, this is your result. But that is not the meaning. But pretty printer is something like alignment. Now if I click on pretty printer, you can see the select statement will comes to the first position. Even this loop also comes to the first position. Now again your program get activated, but that is a revised. Then again click on activate. See? So never, if you want to align your code, so up to apply the pretty printer, your program must be error free. Suppose you do have the error in your program, then pretty printer will not work. So to apply the pretty printer, your program should be error free. Now here I want to add one more point. The select statement which I have written, it doesn't mean that you need to split it. If you want, you can write this in one line also. Something like this. Right? You can write in this line also. But you also need to improve the readability. And there is some restriction. Can you see the column position? If I place my cursor at the last position in the same line, last position, what is the cursor position? Column 64. So there is a restriction as a part of performance. Your cursor position should not exceed 72 character. It means you should not keep on writing the statement in the same line. It will impact on the cursor performance. It will impact on the performance because there is some standard ratio for the compiler. Whenever your compiler will start executing your statement or line by line, there is some ratio for him. You know, like your screen, some ratio, either x-axis, y-axis, or maybe diagonally. There is a ratio for every screen. For your mobile phone also, your laptop also, every screen will be having some ratio. Same way as compiler will also be having the ratio. So if you're writing, it doesn't mean that it will not get executed or it will not get activated. Of course, it will get activated, but readability will be decreased. So that may be impact on the performance. So instead of keep on writing the statement in the same line, so doesn't looks good as per the performance wise also or the readability purpose also. So always split the statement in multiple line so that it should like follow the 72 character position also, and it also improves the readability. See, it is something like difficult to read with the statement, but if I split it in multiple part, it's easy for me to read this statement. Right? How easy for me to read the statement. So that is only the reason. It doesn't mean that you cannot write in the same line, or if I write in the same line, does it like activate or not? No, not like that. It will get activated. But there is a like, if you want to work on the performance level for any program, so there is a restriction. You should not write any line which is exceeding the 72 character. You can just take it to the next line, but you should not exceed. But if you, what if I exceed? Does nothing will happen, but that will somewhere impact on the performance unknowingly. So this has been activated. If I click on execute, so this is my result. Now you can ask me the work area which we have discussed, in that also we have received the same output. The internal table which are working, even in this is also we have received the same result. What is the difference in that case? Even if you look at this internal table is something like lengthy concept. First take it to the body, then to the work area header line, to the then presentation. Ultimately we are working with the work area only, right? Then what is the use of this internal table body? If you look at work area, what is the use of work area? Each time it will read a single record. Suppose in the database you do have the 10 record. What does it mean? 10 times individually, it will go to the database and each time it will pick a single record and transfer it to the presentation. In the same way, if you go with the internal table, what it is doing? In one go, he's picking all the 10 record to the application. And from there, through work area, it is moving to the presentation. So our main focus is what? As much as avoid the load on the database. This is one of the performance. See, if you want to improve the performance of a programming, it is not a depend on any single point. There are many points. So one of the point is what? Try to avoid the load on the database. Now suppose if you are working in any organization, let's assume, and every time for a silly reason or maybe frequently you're going to your senior or you're going to the team lead or the manager. See, asking something questions, it's not an issue, but for the silly things going again and again to the team lead or the manager, the reaction will be something different, right? Ultimately they will let you know, but reaction something different. So going to the everyone or some specific person to the again and again, that doesn't looks good. Here also, for every time you're going to the database and picking one by one record, it ultimately you're increasing the load on the database. But if you same way if you go with the internal table body, in single attempt, only in single attempt, it might have the 10 record, 100, 500, 1000, any number of record. In single attempts, he will pick all the data to the application. You can ask me, does it mean the impact? It will impact the performance in the application server also. But in real time, you do have the multiple presentation server, you do have multiple application server, but database is only one. So even though if you are bringing all the data to the application, you do have the multiple applications so that it can balance the load. Database never balance the load because it's having only one, right? So that's the reason we always keep avoiding to putting the load on the database. So that's the reason we need to work with the internal table to bring all the data at one go to the application server. And from there, you can do anything within the application because as we discussed, it having the multiple servers. It can balance the load. And from there to the work area, from work area to you can come to the presentation. So this makes a difference between work area and the internal table. Even though you are working with the internal table, still we require the work area. Why? Even though you are bringing the data from database to application, you can bring it to the work area also, you can bring it to the internal table. But from application to presentation, you need to go via work area only. So work area is only the way to bring the data from application to presentation. But from bringing the data from database to application, you can bring via work area or bring via internal table. So that's the reason what we do. To bring the data from database to application, we prefer internal table, and from application to presentation, we go via work area. Now here we discussed about the internal table, but that too with the old concept called the occur zero, which is totally outdated, we never use. In the next session, I will show you what is the alternative to this occur zero. Of course, as we discussed, we are going to work with the internal table, but not with the occur zero. Then how to create, that we will see in the next session. Plus, the screen level, like a graphical level, I have shown that how the data is bringing from database to application and tray to presentation, how this internal table body in header line is getting created, how the data is getting flowed. That I want to see at the screen level. That you can see by using the debugging. That is our next session. However, you can see the link in the description box. Thank you for the day and thank you for the session.